Imagine a place that was the brightest beacon of knowledge on Earth for nearly 800 years, a university where the greatest minds gathered to push the very limits of human understanding. And then, for almost 1,000 years, it just vanished. This is the incredible story of Nalanda.
So take a look at this. This is Nalanda University today, reopened back in 2014. It's a marvel of sustainable design, a net-zero campus built for the future. But this incredible modern structure is really an attempt to bring back a legend, a story that started over 1,600 years ago.
And that brings us to the central mystery we're going to dig into. What was the original Nalanda, this ancient powerhouse of learning? And how could something so huge, so important, literally be wiped off the map and lost to history for centuries?
Okay, to really understand what was lost, we have to go back in time. Way back. Long before places like Oxford or Harvard even existed, Nalanda was, without a doubt, the global center for higher education. Let's take a look at how it became such a legend.
Its story kicks off in 427 CE, right in the middle of India's golden age, under the Gupta Empire. And for the next 750 years, it was looked after by a whole series of powerful dynasties. The Guptas, then Emperor Harsha, and later the Pallas, and each one helped it grow bigger and more influential.
At its absolute peak, this is how many students lived and studied here. 10,000. It was the world's first massive residential university, basically a bustling city completely dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. I get this, teaching those 10,000 students were 2,000 professors. Just think about that ratio for a second. That's only 5 students for every teacher. That's an intimate, intense academic environment that most modern universities can only dream about.
And we're not talking about some local college here. Nalanda's reputation was so huge that it pulled in scholars from all over the known world. We have records of students making these incredibly difficult journeys from as far away as China, Korea, Persia, and even Turkey, all of them hoping for a chance to study within its walls.
Now, it's really easy to think of it as just a monastery, but that's not the whole story at all. I mean, yes, Buddhist philosophy was at its heart, but the curriculum was unbelievably diverse. Students were studying medicine, math, astronomy, law, even things like city planning. It was a real university in every sense of the word.
We are so lucky to have this incredible description from the Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang, who actually studied here in the 7th century. And listen to how he describes it. He paints this picture of an architectural marvel, with towers and observatories that seem to disappear into the clouds. This wasn't just a place to learn, it was a breathtaking sight.
But the real heart of Nalanda, the engine that powered its intellectual might, was its library. And this wasn't just a library, it was considered the single largest collection of knowledge in the entire ancient world.
It had a name, Dharmagunja. That roughly translates to the treasury of truth. And wow, was it ever a treasury. It held the accumulated wisdom of centuries of human thought.
The library was so enormous it was housed in 3 separate, massive buildings. And just their names, Ocean of Jewels, Sea of Jewels, Jewel Adorned, tell you exactly how precious their contents were. The biggest one, Ratnodati, was a towering 9-story building filled with the most important manuscripts. 9 stories?
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of individual manuscripts here. And remember, each one was painstakingly copied by hand, letter by letter, onto palm leaves and birch bark. This library contained entire worlds of philosophy, science, and art.
And then, after almost 8 centuries of brilliance, came the end, a sudden, violent stop to one of history's greatest intellectual projects. So, how did it happen?
So, around the year 1200, an invading army led by a Turkic general named Bakhtiar Khilji swept through the region, and Nalanda, this shining symbol of culture and learning, was a major target. The great university was attacked, its monks were killed, and its beautiful buildings were set on fire. Just a few decades later, in 1235, a Tibetan pilgrim visited and found it almost completely deserted.
And this is the most heartbreaking part of the story. The great library, Dharmagunja, with its hundreds of thousands of priceless manuscripts, is said to have burned for months. The smoke from that fire was literally the funeral pyre for an amount of human knowledge we can't even begin to calculate.
So you have to ask, why? Why such total and utter destruction? Well, Nalanda wasn't just a collection of buildings. It was the heart of an entire intellectual ecosystem. To the invaders, it represented a competing system of thought, a different way of seeing the world. Destroying the university, burning its library, it was a strategic move to tear down a culture and seize its wealth.
But you know, a legacy like Nalanda's, it doesn't just disappear. Even in ruins, its idea persisted, and today there's a powerful effort to bring that spirit back to life.
And you can see that so clearly right here. On one side, you have the ghost of Nalanda's past, the ancient ruins, and on the other, its future, the gleaming new architecture of the modern Nalanda University, built just a few kilometers away. It's a direct attempt to bridge a gap of nearly 1,000 years.
And in 2016, the world officially recognized just how important this place was. The ruins of the ancient university were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving them for all of humanity.
But you know, reviving a legend is complicated. The vision for the new university is huge, a world-class, research-focused institution. But some reports, like one from The Wire in 2024, paint a really challenging picture. They point to struggles with attracting enough students, promised international funding that has dried up, an exodus of the original faculty, and a local ranking that doesn't quite match its global name.
And that leaves us with a final, really profound question. The original Nalanda was so much more than just bricks and mortar. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of scholars, debate, and discovery that was built over centuries. So can a magnificent new campus and a legendary name really be enough to bring back that spirit? Honestly, that's something only time will tell.